Hey guys, working on this 2011 Chevy Cruze 1.8 liter, and we're having multiple issues on this thing, and so I'll start off right from the beginning, and this thing has kind of been quite the turd. Anyway, so initially it came back to me way back in May, and I'll show you what we had with that baby. So this is what I had on my code scan: heated oxygen sensor circuit, voltage low, sensor 1, fuel trim system lean, NOx sensor, heated oxygen sensor switching, post catalyst fuel trim system low, and then some other some oddballs and some other modules. And here I got it fired up, and it's loping pretty good here right at an idle. And I want to get in and I'm going to check out my fuel trim data here. Look at loop status, oxygen sensors, long-term trim, and we'll go for short-term here. And there's definitely something wrong with that. So looking right here at both of our fuel trims, long and short, we're maxed right out right there. 33% on the long and 36 on the short. So definitely got some issues there. That oxygen sensor is way out of range. You can see right there, bank 1, or well, sensor 1 anyways. So if we're operating in closed loop and that right there, that sensor's biased, that's definitely going to be giving us an upset. Let's go ahead and take it for a drive and just see what it's like here. Alright, now we're in here. Let's see, yeah, she's loping pretty good. Yo, 112 LSA. Alright, so now we're going to go for a spin and just see what it's like here. Really doesn't run that bad wide open. What I ended up coming up with there was I had the O2 sensor was biased, and so it was just making it run like shit basically. It was just adding a whole bunch of fuel to it. It was biased lean, so I put an upstream oxygen sensor in it, just cleared all the codes out of it, drove it around for 100 miles or so, and it was good to go. I didn't have no issues with it. And so anyways, ended up giving it back. So then it come back to me again about 1,000 miles later, and I'll show you what I had for codes right there. So yeah, 1,000 miles later it come back to me, and the customer said that it was overheating on it. So this is what I had. I had coolant flow insufficient, and then also a starter relay circuit. The starter relay circuit, I might as well go over that. I actually fixed that at the same time too. I'll show you guys what that was. Get that garbage out of there. The garbage. The malaki. Get this cover off here. There we go. Now we're getting there. Alright. So this was loose right here for my PO615. That nut right there was just loose, and so this cable was loose. So basically you had power going to the fuse buck, you had power going to the ignition, power going to everything except for your starter lead, and so it would just click, 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 and that was all you'd get out of it. So anyway, so totally different code come out of nowhere on that. So but then I had the engine coolant flow insufficient. And then what I ended up coming up with that was I had a bad thermostat. And what was happening there was I just wasn't getting any coolant flow. So my engine coolant temp was cranking up, 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 and then meanwhile, down here in this corner, and you can't really see it, there's a radiator coolant temp sensor, and that thing was reading pretty much ambient temperature the whole time, would never heat up. And so that's how you generate this engine coolant flow insufficient. So then looking into that, I ended up replacing a thermostat on it. And I didn't replace just the thermostat. It got this whole plastic assembly here. That whole outfit is what I replaced onto it because it was all just brittle and garbage. But the original issue was that this connector here had melted, this thermostat heater connector, and you can't really see it too well. I know my light's giving you a lot of glare, but anyways, there you can kind of tell. But that had melted, and so it was leaking coolant into that connector there. And so that was how I got that thermostat anyway not working or whatever. So then replaced the thermostat onto it, gave it back to my customer again, said it's great, it's good to go. I put a couple 100 miles on it, no issues at all. So then this last Sunday, calls me, hey Kurt, I gotta have that car towed over. It's blowing a whole bunch of white smoke and we don't know what's going on, I don't want to drive it. So I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this thing's garbage. But anyway, so then we take a look at it and it showed up. And there really wasn't anything going on with it when I drove it. I run it around quite a bit, couldn't get it to smoke or nothing like that. None of the fluids were low. As far as for codes, then I'll show you what I had for there when I pulled it up this time. Some more knock sensor codes. And the same starter relay control circuit that I didn't clear when it was around the first time. And then intake manifold tuning control valve position sensor circuit low voltage. So that's what I was looking at. So then I go to, just out of curiosity, see how much one of those tuning valves is, if that's what I got to put on it to take care of, you know, whatever this new issue is or what have you. And so that's part of the intake on it. And from GM was like $500, get the whole intake that comes with this stupid little motor on it. And so I was like, well, piss on that. I'll just go to the junkyard and I'll go buy a whole intake manifold, do that, and then I'll just peel the stupid motor off of it, and then I'll be able to do it that way around. So then I get peeling it apart here and unplug the connector for this motor. And let me show you guys. This is pretty interesting here. It's just being silly. It's just being silly. There it is. If you look in there, full of crud, full of coolant. So this melted sensor right here pushed a whole bunch of coolant through the wiring harness back to this connector. You can look at the connector here too. John there. Right. Just so you can see right there. Look at all that shit in that connector. So then, obviously, that circuit is shared. And so then I went ahead and pulled that up on the Alldater. And so where are we? Right here. So right there is intake manifold tuning solenoid. And if we follow this violet and blue wire, so this violet and blue, right there, boom, highlight that sucker. And look at everywhere that goes. Heated oxygen sensor, heated oxygen sensor. And we'll go back over. It's fed by fuse 47. And so then if you look at everything else here on that, we'll follow these across and we'll go down. Engine coolant thermostat heater, which we already knew. keep going here. And also, evaporative emission purge solenoid valve. So oddly enough, you come over here to the car without your flashlight. So you look like an idiot. That's a new pigtail on the purge solenoid. I wonder why someone would have put a new pigtail on that thing, huh? So long story short, I think I've been chasing the same issue, all just because this harness is saturated in coolant through that circuit for the thermostat heater. So I just wanted to make sure that I made a video about this for somebody else to be able to go back and say, oh, maybe that's my issue. So pretty stupid design, obviously, but I'm going to take a look at these oxygen sensor connectors too and see how those look. So this upstream, like I say, I replaced this one already myself. So looking at that connector, that one's free and clear. There's nothing in it. So nothing happening with that one. And then I'm going to go bottom side and I'm going to pull off that downstream O2 and I'm going to go ahead and see what that connector looks like as well. Coolant! You zoom in on that guy for you guys. Who doesn't like a good zoom shot? Gross! Dang it. And so here I got the harness pulled out of it just a little bit. Didn't unhook everything, but got it so I can at least get this over here where I can be working on it instead. And so starting right here, this is the evap purge connector here and been replaced already. So anyways, but follow that violet and blue wire back, and right there's our splice, not too far back. So that's normally located right about here in this little plastic loom. So that'd be right about there is where that splice is at. And so anyways, now I'm going to go ahead and cut this out. And I'm going to peel apart a lot of the rest of this harness, and I'm going to rerun a new wire, that violet and blue, basically from this thick gauge wire here. So that's what's coming from the fuse. And I'm going to check that and see if that's full of coolant or not too, or what have you. And then probably just rerun all new wires for these circuits, and then get a new connector on my thermostat heater, a new connector on the intake tuning valve, and then also clean out the rest of the connectors. They all looked all right otherwise. Hopefully they'll all be okay, and we're gonna get this thing fixed up. And here I just kind of got a little bit of time lapse going through breaking this harness down and then rewiring it. And so I basically just got some new wire that I run that circuit with off of the heavy gauge wire fed by that fuse to get new power to all these circuits, and then hopefully not have any further issues. I lucked out with the pigtail for the intake manifold tuning valve. That actually came on the junkyard intake that I got, so that was kind of a freebie too. So anyway, that was a good workaround to not have to replace that whole intake assembly, but still a substantial amount of work to get this circuit repaired here. So if you just want to follow along with that, and then we'll get to the bottom of it. on the thermostat there at the dealer before they even called me, so they would open it up. I appreciate them doing that for me. So we're going to get this guy spliced in next. And hopefully I fixed it. I guess I'll start small and see if it just starts up and drives it at least. But say you can kind of tell that somebody was in there. I mean, especially if you've got an eye for it. But anyway, so we got a new connector there on thermostat heater. Got the new wire run here to the upstream O2. And then we've also got a new wire run over here to the evap purge. New wire run down to the intake manifold tuning valve, and then also down to the downstream O2 sensor there. So we've got that circuit taken care of and got all this gobbledygook here cut out of it. So again, here's the connector. You can see a lot better now. But yeah, gonna say pretty gunked up as far as for that intake manifold tuning valve. Let me get that motor here too. And then here again you can see that connector full of coolant for the intake manifold tuning valve. And so I've still got to get my valve on here, I guess. I forgot about that. So, but this is a valve that I got along with the pigtail. You can see it's new. Or not new, but not full of coolant. But I ended up buying a junkyard intake right there, just so that way I could steal this little guy off it. And we'll get her going here. Alright, they got the motor on down yonder there, way down yonder. Maybe if I get over here, get the light just right. Right, that's pretty good right there. You can see it down in there, down in there, down in there. But yeah, right there, right here, there's the motor there, that intake tuning valve motor. So anyways, now we'll see if she'll fire up after I got everything all fabric cobbled, the harness there. Now she runs. That's good. Wasn't expecting anything less. Got the Varus out here, so let me see if we got any codes as well. Codes menu, display codes, no codes present. So we'll get out and drive it, see if it's a driver. So far I put probably 100 miles on it or so and just running it around. So anyways, but fuel trims are looking great now. We got everything taken care of, so know that that's all squared away finally. We're gonna hope anyway, but we'll run her around some more here, just let you guys know for sure that she's boogieing. All the power that a 1.8 liter could ever have to offer. Fuel trim's still looking good. Boogie oogie oogie. But we'll go back here and we'll look at our codes menu. Read fault code. No trouble codes. So, well, for now we got her fixed. Put some more miles on is all I can do, and we'll give her back. Alright, a little extra footage here. So this is what we replaced initially, was the thermostat, not the connector, but the thermostat. So melted in there. It's hard to see that one. So, but then anyways, so that pushed coolant through this little purple blue wire right here, through the connector, through the rest of this harness, into all the other pigtails. So this is for the intake tuning valve here, and then all the other ones that I cut off. So anyways, what I want to do is just kind of cut this splice open and see what that looks like. So it's a little bit, almost looks like coolant's in there, but that's actually just the glue they put in there. So all the other splices in there look just like that, but I'm going to cut that apart and see how that looks inside and see if that's full of coolant or what there. Okay, let's rip them. Arrgh. Well, there's really not any liquid coolant in it like I was hoping to find, but let's tear apart that motor. So we'll see if we can get this thing here apart. Look inside there, you can still see all that coolant in there. Kinda. Not much to that. There's really not a whole lot of coolant in there either, as far as just in there. Let's see if this will come out or not. I don't think it will. What I really wanted to see was right here. Some flashlight in there. See, it doesn't really look like any of that coolant made it inside the motor here necessarily. Sure can see it right there though. Gross. Wonder if I just break that off of there. That's junk anyway, right? Mercy. Mercy. Crunchy crunch. There we go. Down in the meat and taters here. Yeah, it really doesn't look like there was a whole lot of coolant down in the motor itself. But now we've done it, and it can't be undid.